Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Cheers.
But I feel like we should just get into it, friend. Cheers.
Yeah, let's
Welcome
just
back.
cheers. Yay.
Guys, this is your girl, Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey, Kat, let's go. I'm excited.
I'm also excited.
Man, as always, I feel like I haven't really talked to you all week. I mean, a little bit. We've touched base a bit, but I feel like there's been a lot going on.
Who hasn't there? I mean, it's summertime. Like everything's bumping. Actually, I think today, or I think tomorrow is the first official day of summer, even though we've had all these 90-degree days.
Yeah.
So summer solstice, everybody. Or actually, when this is released, it'll already be over. But yeah, get ready for a hot one. And they're just getting hotter. So
it's been definitely super hot, and it's not even summer yet. So that just lets you know everybody's been outside. Like, so it was Juneteenth, it was Father's Day that just passed. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yes.
Happy Freedom Day.
Yeah.
And just been a lot going on. So, you know what? I just wanted to touch really quickly on our weekend, though. So I know you had a chance to, make an appearance. I was with family. I had all kinds of family events going on, so I couldn't make it. But I wanted to touch base and see, what did you think about the garden party event? It looked like it was popping.
So first of all, I love the organization, period. Like, I've been to their events before, and I love what they stand for, which is supporting Black entrepreneurship. We love that around here. So, so first and foremost, that's what I really loved about it. But this is their first time being at Newfields, formerly the IMA, which is, very personal to us. Because for one, they had to rehab their image because they had a memo leaked about how they were trying to keep it white over there, or to quote them, retain their core white audience. So they had to fire some people.
That in the notes for y'all.
Right. Backtrack, hire some Black people, and also start hosting some Black events. So this was a perfect collaboration for both of these brands. Just got a chance to just so many beautiful Black people all in one space, just celebrating one another. No drama. Like, just, I don't know. I can't say enough good things. And you can just look at it and just see how beautiful it was. But we've been knowing about the IMA and just going up there. I've had many celebrations there. We had your bridal shower there.
Yes, we sure
and
did.
actually, they were pretty racist.
There.
Huh?
My kids went to preschool at the IMA.
Yes. Just so much stuff. I remember when my son was little, used to take him up. He said only thing he remembers is the brunch, because there used to be
the brunch too. I remember that.
That was an amazing brunch.
There was Wolfgang Puck. Like Wolfgang Puck had like a restaurant inside the Indiana Museum of Art, and it was like a whole separate thing. It was a whole vibe.
And actually, they did the catering for your bridal shower.
I know, which was delicious. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Kat.
It was a great time. And so it was just to have this moment where, because when I was organizing it, they were pretty racist. You just had to, just ignore it and just push past it, because I wanted this venue. And so, it was just wonderful. So yeah, I got a lot of great captures. So we'll be posting more and more stuff, but can't say enough good things. Thank you. We like to party.com. They'll be doing Party Gras again. I think that'll be in February. That makes sense. So yeah, just support them and everything they do.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into this week's episode. Today we are going to be talking about the Netflix documentary Our Father, which tells the true story of a fertility doctor who used his own sperm on patients because he's gross. So,
I didn't want to watch it.
I know you didn't. So we touched on this last week because, we were talking about this was our Stranger Than Fiction story. And for me, I'm like, no, like I can't just hear a little bit of this. I need to know more. So I implored you to please watch this with me, and I appreciate you, friend.
And I'm glad you did, and I'm glad I pushed through it, because this was something I did need to know about.
I mean, I guess so for me too. It was just because it was so close to home, like us being from Indiana, and this doctor being from where we're from. it's like, man, I probably went to school with people who are in this whole
who
documentary.
impacted by this. How about I found out this weekend that one of my family members went to that practice for obstetric care,
Are you
not for
serious?
fertility treatments, fortunately. And she never saw him, but he was part of the practice when she was
Oh
going there.
gosh, that's
Because
so. I'm
because
sorry.
like when she started talking about it, me and my cousin started looking at each other. It's like, where is this going?
Right? Like, what are you trying to say? Like, what's
But
going
I mean, we're black though. The genes are strong. We would have known. But
on? That's
like,
true. That's true.
yeah, it would have been pretty obvious if it hadn't been. Yeah.
So,
Ooh, I'm sorry. Go back to you.
no, no. So basically, yes. This story is stranger than fiction. I wanted to dive into it a little bit more. Here's a little background, you guys. During the 1970s and 80s, a fertility specialist in Indiana named Dr. Donald Klein inseminated dozens of patients with his own sperm without their knowledge or consent. So these stories, so this documentary tells stories of all of these women who saw him during that time, and he has at least 94 biological children. And so all of this is in the documentary. This documentary was released in May, and it interviews the parents and their children, and it kind of chronicles the siblings' path to uncovering the truth of their biological parent. So it was, I mean, it was disturbing. It was honestly, it was super disturbing. And it's one of those things where you're like kind of looking out the corner of your eye, like, oh my God, you can't believe it's real. Like you're hearing the story, like this can't be real. So I was
No
really
one can be
impressed.
this much of a narcissist.
He was that much of a narcissist friend, like that. He truly, truly was. So basically it starts off with one of the siblings, Jacoba, and I guess for her, she was like, I'm in this family, I've always felt kind of off because my parents have dark hair, my siblings have dark hair, I'm the only blonde hair, like blue-eyed person. And she would harass her parents like, am I
Tell me
from
the
out
truth.
here? Like, it's okay, like you can tell me. And they were like, no, like, no, and finally her mom confirmed, like, okay, yes, I did have fertility issues. Actually, it wasn't me, it was your bitch ass daddy and his
She
bitch ass.
did throw the daddy under the bus
Oh, like,
quick.
damn, yeah, you know what I mean? But they confirmed it or whatever. And so she knew that there was a possibility that she had brothers and sisters out there. So when she was a little bit older, she got on the 23andMe database, and she had like 7 or 8 close connections, which is sort of like, hey, these are your brothers and sisters. These are close family members, which I don't think she recognized that at that point. But she ends up finding out that, like, yeah, like she's all these brothers and sisters. And it's just like following her. She's like the catalyst to sort of uncovering the whole thing, because she was the person who, like, when you signed up for your 23andMe and got your report back, she was sending you the inbox like, yo,
So
this
you
big
probably
big
have some questions.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, holler at me, because yeah, I'm probably your sister out here in these streets.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's an hour and 37 minutes. It was directed
Okay,
by
cool.
Lucy Jordan, and it's just so daggone disturbing.
You guys have to see it. It was crazy. Like, and so I don't know, like the craziest thing for me was sort of like, well, there were so many crazy things, but when they started to, so like once she figured out, she didn't instantly know that it was him. Like she figured out that, okay, this is the doctor who performed the procedure. And when she started having communication with some of the brothers and sisters, they made a joke like, what if it was the doctor though?
Right.
Because it's like, but then it was like, nah, 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 nah. But come to find out it was him, and when they kind of called him out on it, he was saying like, it was probably, so basically his story initially was like, no, we used sperm from our medical residents, and it wouldn't be more than like 2 or 3,
Samples ever
samples
given out.
per, yeah, ever, ever, ever.
Ever donor of any one donor, 3 children tops.
Hmm. And
And that was lies.
lies and lies.
Because they didn't even have the freezer technology down yet. Like now when you have a sperm donor, they donate it, they freeze it, and then do whatever they do to impregnate you. And a lot of times I'm sorry. I'm trying to stay calm because this really, really gets me. This is why I didn't want to watch it. I knew it was going to be upsetting.
Well,
And
this is why it makes good entertainment. I need them to know why you're upset. Tell them.
well, so many reasons. For one, it's because they acted. Well, let's go back a little bit.
What?
Shout out to Angela Goodnote, who saw this and was like, originally was like, "Hey, the fuck." Like, because they went to the police first. They're like, "Oh," went to the DA. No, they wanted some sperm. We gave him some sperm. Like, that was the general attitude, just free shrugs all up in here. And I actually did look up an interview Angela Goodnote did with a lawyer who wasn't on this case, but just a lawyer. And he was talking about how a lot of times with this medical stuff, you have to go through the medical board. Like, the state doesn't really handle it. But it's like, this is so crazy. Like, this is a type of sexual assault, like whether you want to view it that way or not, because what he was doing was like jacking off in his office and then going into
You're
the
in the
exam room.
waiting. Like,
Yeah, while you're standing there with your legs in the stirrups, he's in his
I'll be
office
right
jacking
back.
off into a cup, and then he's coming in and fertilizing you with
His phone. That is disgusting.
and it's at the very minimum, it's just like bait and switch. Like, as a consumer, like, you can't just sell me
like
like,
poking a hole in the condom type shit. Like, even that's
yeah.
crime. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are not allowed to do that. And it's just weird too, because in a moment where, you know, the right to safe and informed reproductive care is under threat in the US, which I won't shut up about, you
No,
know,
I don't think so either.
it's particularly resonant because it raises the question of like how our legal system views people trying, you know, like trying to control
It's
have control
women.
over this. Women, excuse me. Yes, women specifically.
Women, people
Because
with
we're the ones,
vaginas.
yes. And it's just crazy because that's a total violation of your autonomy. Like, that's a total violation of, you know, and these poor men, like, I felt bad because like you would see these scenes where these couples were talking. And it was like when my daughter came to me and I figured out like this was the thing that was happening, like I had to tell my husband, like, this isn't your daughter. Like, I know she's 40 years old, but like actually it wasn't
It's
your
not.
sperm that the doctor used. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't your sperm, it was his. And this isn't your biological daughter. Like, how heartbreaking is that? You know, like, that's crazy, man. Like, it's nuts. And of course, you know, not like we can't talk about anything without slavery.
Let's talk about slavery.
But it just makes me think about that because it's like, yeah, like, I mean, this isn't a new concept of, you know, men feeling entitled to, you know, putting their sperm wherever the fuck they want to, and you're having the offspring of somebody who you didn't ask. They didn't ask. Like, this was not consensual.
Oh,
You know
could
what
I
I
also
mean?
bring up another fun point in Dr. Klein's life? He
What is
killed a
wrong?
kid. Like, he ran over a kid. Like, this was before he started doing all this skeeting on all the walls. But like, before that, he like, they don't give a lot of
Before that, I'm
details.
sure it was during too. He was keeping walls the whole time, I'm sure.
That's probably true. Oof.
Mhm.
And so he hit a child and killed her with his car.
Like a 4 or 5-year-old.
Yeah, and to me, this is just what's crazy. It's like, there's no consequences ever. You never hear about any consequences from that. He didn't do any jail time. Doesn't even look like he lost his driver's license.
No, let me tell you, that's when he found Jesus, friend. Like, that's when they were like, the people
Oh,
was like, yeah, like after that happened, that's when he got really religious. And that's when he turned his life to God and he found forgiveness. And so he went super hard because you could walk into his office and he had all those really nice Bible verses up while you're
and
violating people's whole lives.
reproductive system. Yeah,
The Bible verses in the
there's
background.
just what irritated me was there's just no consequences for this guy. He's at the end of his life now. Even when he was directly confronted with this, his first thing was to be like, "Oh, I got my gun on me." Like, it was to intimidate
Yeah.
and to silence. Like, this wouldn't be a problem if you would just stop talking about it.
That's always the thing with victims, though. Like, everybody's annoyed with anybody who feels like that they've been done wrong. Like, it's like, just shut the fuck up about it, though. Like, it wouldn't even be an issue if you just shut up and keep it moving. We wouldn't even have to be here right now. You're ruining the community. This is an upstanding man. Because that was like, to your point, the thing that struck me a lot was when they were interviewing people who knew him, and, you know, even down to the people that were in his office, there was like a little bit of caping for him.
Mhm.
Like there was that little bit of
He
like
was so knowledgeable.
he was so smart and he was I mean, but also you got the feeling that he was pretty condescending. He was a fucking know-it-all and he was a control freak. So he was just you know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to I don't want to generalize here, guys, but
Let's do
like
it.
if you're just picturing like, the most entitled white man of life, it would be him, just a chubby Santa Claus looking motherfucker who
I
thought,
was about to
he was
say he looked like Santa Claus's unemployed brother.
right, right, the bum who never
Yeah.
he didn't get no magic. He wasn't born with no magic. He was
Mm-mm.
like, "You know what? I got some magic for that ass."
He's like
He magic
Krampus.
these nuts. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to magic his nuts. And
And never felt the need to he's never apologized. He was
for
just like,
what?
"Keep it quiet because I don't want you to ruin my marriage." And from what I was gonna look it up, his wife probably didn't even leave him. It reminds me of kinda like a
Oh,
Gerard, like,
him.
Carmichael situation and stuff where because you are counseled not to leave these dudes. I've been there myself. I've been in the counseling room. You're just supposed to move on. And
Guess
it's
why?
like,
Because they weren't saved when it happened, and they're sorry now.
he
And
was
how
though.
do you think he feels? Like that's the part that's crazy. It's like so only his feelings count in this. Like there was no legal precedent for anything like this, and this was why he never was actually even prosecuted for
I would
any kind
disagree
of sexual
though.
assault. You would disagree with what? The
That
fact
there's no precedent, like, they just didn't want to.
that's
That's
what I
what it
mean.
comes
Like y'all
down
could
to.
y'all find stuff to convict
Because
people of.
remember when Tupac
Like,
got locked up here in Indiana?
not really, no.
You don't? Oh, that's fair. It was in the 1900s, but, like, he basically they locked him up for sexual assault for, like, getting oral sex from a young lady, like, in a club. And I
Oh,
think what ended up happening later, she was assaulted by, I think, people that were either in his entourage or hangers on or something like that. And it
mm,
was like in his hotel room. So they locked him up for that. And so it's like if you can get real creative with prosecution if you're motivated, because this dude I mean, they just didn't want to. They just were like,
yeah,
that's a woman's thing. That like Tom Delaney's bitch ass was like, well, that's not what we're really here for. It's
but
like, really? Like,
yeah,
that's not what you're here for?
nope.
Because I feel, you know what's crazy? Louis C.K., famous masturbator, he faced more consequences than Dr. Klein, and he's a schlubby comedian. And the Dr. Klein is someone who enjoys a privileged position in our society as a doctor and has less accountability in his profession than the daggone yuck waka waka dude.
Yeah, that's true. The bald-headed middle-aged dude. It's like I almost expect him to be jacking off in front of people, which isn't great. It's like
It's
the bar's pretty
not.
low, but then also it's like, okay, but what is your response? What is your personal response and professional responsibility as a fucking physician? You know what I mean? Like that shit is wild.
He did it to one of his colleagues.
His daughter was one of his patients. He didn't inseminate her with anything, but like, can you imagine
Fortunately,
coming to find out that like, yeah, like, come on, man. And then like, let's dive into a little of the ideology. So all of this stuff is alleged. I will say, he's never come out to really say exactly, here's why I did this. For him, he just felt like the comment.
oh wait, go back, because he never even got locked up for what he did. He got locked up for lying to Tom Delaney for perjuring himself.
Right.
So because he lied and said he didn't do
not
it,
women. Yeah. It was
and they got his DNA and proved it.
exactly. So the actual thing that he got tried for was lying to the state of Indiana, not for inseminating these women with his sperm without their consent, knowledge, or anything else.
Hundreds and hundreds of
Hundreds
times.
of times, breaching fraudulently, breaching, all kinds of shit. Like that wasn't, and it, to the point where the victims couldn't talk about it in court. It was like, actually, that's not where we're here. He perjured himself in the state of Indiana, so we can't talk about all of this, all your feelings and shit.
Yeah, they kept shutting them
And
down.
your feelings. It's about the state of Indiana, how he lied to us, and that was it. So that was just wild. But some of the
Indiana's real good for that.
Indiana's the worst. There were a couple of schools of thought as to what might have been his motives and stuff like that. And one of them, I know you had heard about it like before this, Quiverful. I had never heard of that in my life. And
Yeah.
so
You know me, I love cults.
you do. You go hard. So I'm gonna let you tell the people about what Quiverful is. Like,
Well, it's just for people who don't know what a quiver is, because we're not in the 1800s anymore. A quiver is what you keep your arrows in. It's that little backpack thing. And so the idea is your kids are your arrows, and you want to have a quiver full of them to shoot out more Christians into the world. Like, basically, that's the easiest way. It's hard to convert people. It's a lot easier to make Christians. Converting people to Christianity is hard, but you can just like make them Christian. And so I became familiar with it from studying the 19 and counting people, the Duggars. And they were
wonderful folks.
Yes. That's why they had so many daggone kids.
I just thought they were Catholic. Should I?
No, because Catholics been stopped doing that. Catholics have been using birth control. Like my uncle said,
a lot of them don't. I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah, but like as modern times came on, like my uncle used to say, the Pope ain't gonna raise these kids. So it's like, like I think most Catholics, at least in the US, they use birth control. So
well, they're going
the Duggars, because I would when they
not according
what's his name, Josh, when he got started getting into trouble and stuff, that's when I started paying attention. And I was like, Josh Duggar, he was one.
Talking about these people like I know the fuck they are.
Josh Duggar should have been in one of the Stranger Than Fictions, because he was in the show 19. He was one of the older kids from 19 and Counting. So he was one of the adult children. Okay. Well, come to find out, he had been like molesting a bunch of the sisters. And then later on, he got brought up on child pornography charges. And so I actually think he was just recently sentenced. Yes. They actually drug him out in front of his car dealership
4 weeks ago. Hold on. Reality TV's Josh Duggar gets 12 years in child porn case.
Yeah. He was super gross. Yeah. And he's got kids too. And his wife wouldn't leave him when that stuff broke. That's what was so crazy. But what was really sick was that the mom and the dad knew that he was messing with the sisters. And
his own sisters?
Yes. And so their solution was to lock the girls' doors at night, to lock them in their rooms. So, I'm just not a big fan of this philosophy. It, to me, is kind of gross and sick and just turns women into squishy 3D printers. And also, like, a big thing is because here's the other thing. This is what I don't like about a lot of religion. It demonizes our sexuality. And it turned you against this very natural thing about you. You just want to shut it down. And what people usually do is just get married young so that they don't sin. And just this idea of turning sex into sin. But like,
though, like, I wonder if people other places feel that intense pressure like that. Not to say that there's not, but I feel like I feel like it's a regional thing. I don't
wait, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that you're saying that you feel like people will get married early so they can have sex because they don't want to sin. Like, do you think this is a regional thing? This is a United States thing? Like, because I don't know if I feel like I get those vibes from people that aren't from here. Like that they grew up feeling like that.
I think it depends on how religious your region is. So like here, like the more conservative your environment is, the more prevalent that idea is, because there is a big thing about, like, especially in cults, is to get the girls pregnant early, because then they're trapped. Because that's the other thing. Because after I watched this, then Netflix was like, do you want to watch Stay Sweet, Pray and Obey? And it's about the prairie dress women.
Oh my God, not them dresses again.
And that's how they get them. Like, they would be marrying them girls off at like 12, 13, 14. And then by the time you have your third or fourth kid, you just realize what's being done to you. Right. And by then they got your kids. And so it's so crazy. But this idea that because you're right, like there is an attack on our reproductive rights, our autonomy, because, and let me just say, for people who want to have big families, like, I'm not like shitting on that. Like, some people do like having big families.
If that's what you want, like, that's one thing.
But I will say what the Duggars were doing was unethical. Like, having that many children is unsustainable no matter how much money you have, because you would, for one
documentary, The Queen of Versailles or something of Versailles. It was like a rich couple. Hold up, I'm gonna Google it. and then you can complete your thought. But it was kind of like to that point, like she basically, this woman and this man, they were super rich. The husband was rich. She married rich. They had all these kids. They didn't raise their kids. Like they literally did not raise their children. And something happened where his money started, maybe some bad investments, some, whatever. And it was like, oh, I have to take care of these kids. It was like, I wouldn't have had all these kids if I would have known, if I had to take care of these kids, and it's like, yeah, bitch, like this is not
What do you think this is?
right. Like, I mean, to the point they didn't like they'd have date night every night. Like they wouldn't even see their kids necessarily every day because they were just that rich and it's
And
they're
I'm familiar with that dynamic. I went to school with a lot of rich kids, and like their parents do kind of check out. Like not all of them, but enough of them to where I observed the phenomenon where I'm like, damn, your parents are never home. Like it's like, yeah, they're out of town for a couple weeks. They left me some money. I'm like, this
Yes.
is
You've never seen
crazy.
this documentary, The Queen of Versailles, in 2012. It was a film by
Mm-mm.
Lauren Greenfield. You have to watch this. Let me see if I
Okay.
can find the overview real quick. Because this was really, I mean, just to your point though, like where it's like the it being a question of ethics as far as just like reproduction and stuff like that, and like why you're having kids or whatever.
Right. And to
It's
stop and ask yourself that, like, is this something I actually want? Like,
right.
am I able to like make this commitment right now? Is really crazy. But I was I was just so disgusted, like from everything I learned in this documentary just made me
It's disgusting.
realize we need to vote. We need to vote these people out. Like,
Yeah.
because the stuff that they're going after, like the stuff where they're just like, man, we need to build a wall and be like, no, we need to. It's
Have
like we
doctors
need.
jacking off in rooms and inseminating their sperm into people when they don't know. And let's stop making it seem like when people want to prosecute people for that they're fucking crazy. Like they made this lady like you. So you had mentioned Angela Goodnote. For those of you who don't know who the fuck she is, she's just a local journalist here in Indiana because this poor lady Jacoba, she had gone to every news outlet, like she said, she had gone to this everywhere. Nobody had picked it up. She kept talking about it. And then when she sent it to the story to Angela Goodnote, she picked it up and she spent a year dealing with this story before it was even a thing. Like it took a whole year for it, like the story to even be taken seriously.
They had to
And
go on Dr. Phil.
everything. Okay, y'all can find all the articles. I'm gonna try to do as many
Yes.
with
It's
all of
but they did take him to civil court.
yes.
This
Yes.
wasn't in the documentary because I had to follow up on this. I was like, I need some accountability here because this is. And you had mentioned too, because your Stranger in Fiction was about some of the people who were suing the documentary, and suing Netflix for
Mhm.
violating their privacy and stuff like that. But it's like at this point, it's almost as a health concern. People kind of need to know, because since this was done, and I know it might be violating HIPAA, because this is so unprecedented. But like these are just the people who signed up for 23andMe. So this means it's not even everybody. And the way sexual crimes happen, this is so like off
I
limit.
mean,
This is so
almost
tangenty.
100 kids, man. Like over. I mean, like that's so. And what was even crazier was like the prerequisites involved for like being a sperm donator, like you or to donate sperm or whatever. You can't have any autoimmune diseases. You have to, you go through kind of like a whole physical and stuff. And this dude had autoimmune issues. A lot of his offspring have health issues because of him. Like he wouldn't even have been okay to be a donor in the fucking
No.
first place. And then too, you didn't get into the quiverful cut, like so, like
Oh yeah.
them to the Duggars, but like their whole ideology was kind of like it's like we need to reproduce these white kids because
Yes, it's
it
very white supremacy.
yes, it was very like, oh, I don't know, like we got to get these white kids out here, very blue, because almost all of them had blonde eyes. Lord, they didn't have blonde
They're
eyes.
recessive as fuck.
Yes.
Like that's
Very much so. Okay.
it's a lot of very recessive cosmetic traits that we have come to call whiteness.
Yes. The epitome.
And yeah, and what's wild is like that these are a lot of the type of people I went to school with, like where they do like the kids, like kids just repeat what they hear. So the kids will be telling me like it's wrong for black people and white people to have babies. And
Was it
I'd be like,
at school?
yes.
Which school is this?
Heritage Christian School, they are racist as fuck. I'll say it on here. Like, they probably still are. I remember they wouldn't even call it Malcolm. Like, we couldn't even have MLK Day. We couldn't have Martin Luther King Day, which is called winter break, because they were still mad about Martin Luther King getting a holiday. Like, they had an anti-interracial dating policy. They didn't have any black teachers. I don't know how it is now, but when I was going there, it was great. But I'm just talking about
policy.
Once again, I stopped going there in the 1900s. I don't know. Like, it was always kind of that was their MO though. Like, they didn't, like, the only reason I went there was because legally they can't say no niggers anymore. And so, like, it was rough, but like there was a
that's what,
but that's what, like, the kids who went to the school there, like, they would just be repeating what their parents told them, and so they would just say that to me, and I'm just like, but I grew up like seeing all kind of people together, so I was like, I don't get that. Why are you saying that? But like, yeah, I could tell a lot of stories about that. But yeah, the Quiverful stuff is about it's eugenics, basically. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure all the recessive traits are
keep it their core white audience.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the fields, just like Newfields.
With the bad Newfields. Now they're good Newfields. Newfields, you're okay now.
Sure you are.
You got the black thumbs up. We got to talk about Atlanta at some point too. Like, apologizing for white people. That was such a good episode.
Wait, which one was that?
This was in
the art one.
No, not the art one. This was the one where he was, when Paperboy was like on this council because he was helping a designer who had said some racist stuff, and he was working with the dude who was supposed to kind of be like the Black Lives Matter dude, where he was like, dude, you gotta just start apologizing for white people, and then you can siphon off the charity money.
The money on top, right? Wow. Yeah, listen, Atlanta, you already know I love that so hard, because the commentary gets me together, because it's so cringy. I don't know why I love that. Like, I love when it, like, conversations are like just on the edge of being like
just a little too uncomfortable. Like, yeah, you shouldn't feel too good right now. So yeah, the Quiverful stuff, like this kind of way that a lot of ideologies have kind of hijacked Christianity for their white supremacist purposes. Like, they're kind of it's baked into the sauce now, at least the way they do it out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that even in politics now. Like, I feel like, they've just, it's like the alt-right, like, it's synonymous with white supremacy. Like, at this point,
well, white nationalist, or is it Christian nationalists? Those are all the terrorists now, or Christian nationalist groups who are Did you see Amber Ruffin's piece on that?
No.
I might just plug it in here right now. She like went into, what are y'all mad about? Like, y'all are just
like, clip it in.
Because look at these mother. What are y'all so mad about? Are y'all mad that it's Pride Month and you've done nothing in your life to be proud about? Are y'all mad that the next time you wear matching outfits with your little friends, it'll be in jail? Are y'all mad that you're that white and probably still bad at lacrosse? Why are you mad? Maybe you're mad that the only thing smaller than your worldview is your upper lip? You must save a fortune in chapstick. Why are you mad?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you're gonna include that, or you did include that, because like, it's what is going on right now?
What are you mad? Why are y'all so mad? Like, seriously, because when I was a kid and like first learning about like, racism, like, you experience it very early. So I've got all these questions. And the first one was like, why do they hate us so much?
Nobody
like, there's
an explanation for that either.
It's like, I kind of do. We won't get into that today. Like, I think it's so deep-seated and ancient and weird.
You know what? I have
you guys have to tune in to like our Patreon that we're going to set up to hear my conspiracy theories.
Listen, we are not even popping, so like, I don't even want to get canceled before we
No,
start.
Actually, we are.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, pop.
We're sizzling. Like, we might not be popping yet. Like, the grease isn't popping yet, but when you start seeing the tiny
bubbles, yeah.
Before you get that flash, we got some bubbles.
Man. You might have to wait until we fully boil, a rolling boiling before we start.
Okay, roiling boil.
Yeah. the whole rolling one. But
But yeah, it's like they're so mad, and it's like, I am not making your life harder. Trust me. Like, it's
I just
not
want to
black.
leave me the fuck alone. We've talked about this before. Like, honestly, the whole time it's just been like, yeah, leave me alone. Like, if you want to build some shit, go on and build it. Your goddamn self. Like, just leave us alone, man.
Yeah, like, we're just not cool being slaves anymore, okay, guys?
No, and when we built our own communities, that was a problem. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's no matter what happens, you're always in our business. We're never alone because you guys are around. And it's like, I just,
I think I mean, short answer is like every problem, every human problem, it pretty much comes down to sex. And
oh my gosh. See, listen, you're right. We can't.
yeah, it's a whole thing.
I feel like
And
I like, my God, one of my favorite Instagram pages. I think she's Retro Soul. Shout out to you. She has like a whole James Baldwin page. And I mean, James Baldwin was with the shits when it came to social commentary, especially in relation to, the Black experience. And he was so eloquent and so succinct. And he just had all the beautiful words that I wish I could like say all together. But it's like, I just have to refer to him because it's like, yes. And he has something about that, just about reproduction and about Black women and, us having offspring that was free. We've even talked about this before.
Yeah.
I think anyway, that's a whole tangent on slavery, guys. We're not going to do y'all like this.
Slavery.
You know where you can do that. You also know, like,
it affected some
here.
things.
I'm sorry.
It's just not. I'd like to bring up Neil Brennan. He was like, man, slavery was such a huge deal. He was like, he said, if I was Black, I would talk about it constantly. He was like, if slavery had happened to the Italians, they would never shut up about it. Like, you can't. Like,
that was a lot.
The fact that we're supposed to just take it on the chin and
that was a long time.
It's like, you guys are the best. That was just a little blip, blip, blip. And then, yeah, it's like, God, I was just thinking today about how, like, just recovering from the daggone crack epidemic. Like, we're still recovering from that.
Are we recovering?
I think so. There's been we're like, it's at least halftime.
Okay, maybe that.
We're ready to come out of the locker room like swinging. We're like ready and stuff, but
I don't know what the technical sports term is for when the ball is not. It's like a foul or something. I'm sure, or something like I don't know. A flag is down.
Sure.
The orange one, no, yellow one.
You mean like a penalty?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I feel like it's a penalty.
Yeah, for sure.
At this point,
we should at least get some like free throws.
Everybody's standing around talking, nothing's happening. That's how I feel. That's how I hate sports, because it's like, y'all,
is it timeout? Maybe,
probably all of the shits. They throw the.
I feel like it's not timeout though, because I'm still like working pretty hard. So
all I know is I'm bored and I'm still standing here and we ain't doing shit, and everybody's just talking. And that's what I don't like about sports. Yeah, it's like we just out here in our uniforms, ain't nobody doing shit. Like, that's how it feels right now to me. I'm just saying.
And when there's could be something that was done, because whenever we are like watching these hearings, like the January 6th hearings and all these other stuff where there are mobs of people and no accountability, like the fact that they have to people.
What kind of people?
I mean, just people.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I'm not going to say it like,
I'm saying we're just not allowed. Like, that's the thing. We're not allowed to do that. It's a whole situation. If we're just saying like, hey, Black Lives Matter, guys. I mean, just objective.
You know what they messed up? It should have been it should have been Black Lives Matter too. Because then they try to twist do the all lives matter thing or whatever. But it's like, if we were just like Black Lives Matter too, because it's like, all we just want to do is not get shot. Or we need to stop saying marketing. It is, and you know what? We need better marketing.
We do.
So what we need? Oh, actually, I have two better slogans. So instead of pro-choice, we are pro-good life instead of just pro-life. Right? Because unchecked reproduction is not a
sucking.
What?
I said life sucks sometimes. So
it does. And listen, unchecked reproduction is not a virtue. Like, there's nothing virtuous about having as many kids as you can possibly pop out. Like, I'm so like, yeah, being pro good life. So yeah, so there's pro-lifers and then we're pro-good life.
Oh,
So if your good life is having an abortion, do that. And just you're gonna need some reproductive care if you're gonna have a good life. And that's the truth.
geez, Lord.
And instead of Black Lives Matter, we would just say, as Black people, we just want our Cool Ranch freedoms. And then that way,
Freedoms.
yes, because white people don't like hearing civil rights. Like that gets them all like they're like, ooh, that reminds me when we were being icky. So we got to remind them of the good times because white people love freedoms. Like if I want my freedoms.
Not for everybody
So,
else, for themselves. Like I don't understand.
but
I'm tired of having a. I get it. I mean, I understand how like
it's funner. We can make it. We can make the struggle fun where we need because we need some. Here's the thing, white people.
Like cue an infomercial about
here, white people, meet me over here. We're gonna talk about this. White people, the thing is, we want you on our side. That's the thing. Like, we don't want to fight you. We just here at the Fake Ass Book Club, we just want to
be left.
Can we just? But we do need some reparations, though, y'all. Like that's just
actually at this point, I'm like, Cudjo, I will just build my own shit. Leave me the fuck.
Well, this is what we should ask for. Like, if I'm the leader, like everybody elects me the Black leader. Thank you, everyone. I'm honored. If I become the Black leader, what I'm going to ask for is universal basic income.
From who? The white man?
For everybody. No, from us, because we pay the tax for the people. Because like that would solve so many problems. Right now, we're having a housing crisis. Like we're having because and people are like, well, people won't work. Yes, they will. We just won't have an oppressed labor supply. Like that's what they want, is like a supply of labor that is oppressed so they can keep oppressing them.
Right.
So
well,
what
you send your factory operations off over somewhere else, because then you don't have to even supply them a living wage.
Right. And you bust unions, do all that stuff.
Like, I can't really talk because I know I'm probably purchasing stuff from.
We all are, but that's the thing. Like once people, because they've already said this, like even for employment, for people who are looking for jobs, like what helps people get jobs? Giving them money. Because when you don't have any money, I can't even get to the job interview. I can't get a babysitter. I can't. There's all these things that are prohibitive because you're not, even at the beginning of Monopoly, they give you some money. It's like starting the Monopoly game. It's like you got nothing.
$1.
No, nothing. Because most governments do give their citizens money. Like even in Germany, it's just called Kinder. It's just like children's money. Like there's a certain age they just start giving you money because you're gonna have to do. I mean, you can't maneuver in society without resources. Like it's better to think of money and all of these things as resources because money is so illusory. But we solved all the problems. What do you want to do next?
I was gonna say, you guys, if you're really interested in us ruling the world, you need to go ahead and elect Kat as our
supreme leader.
We don't really have
that. Like I think I made that mistake on our last episode because I think I said when the Shah took over Iran, when I was talking about the revolution in Iran, and I think it wasn't the Shah, it was the Ayatollah. Ooh. So that was my bad. Correct. We need a correction segment actually, because we be saying all kind of stuff.
And correction, we were wrong about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we're supposed to be having Shannon on for the Southern perspective, so she could probably get us together too. So we got to get that. Hey, let us know in the comments if you want some more Shannon, guys.
I know, she was so cute and fun. That was fun. I just, I really hate this guy. I feel like he should not be able to live his life.
I hate his guts.
And I was disgusted by all of the support and like sort of he was such a nice guy. Like we never, like just all of the caping for him, and even just some of the shitty stuff he did or people around him did to his kids. Cause like when he, like basically threatening kids, like, they're forcing me to talk about this, and all you have to do is be quiet. You don't have to talk about this. And, his daughter's coming outside and her tires, all the lug nuts are off her car.
Yeah.
All my Google Docs have been erased and shit like that. And it's like, yeah, people. And that's how she figured out about the, what is it? The arrow people. What are they called again?
The quiverful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was saying
it's very reminiscent of Bill Cosby. Because that's what kind of happened too when his shit started coming out, and people were like, "No, he's so nice and stuff." It's like he was nice to you.
Yo,
Good for you.
yo,
To me, though, it was rapey
piece of shit. Yeah,
over here.
And what's crazy too is I was reading because I love Brene Brown so hard. Like I've read a couple of her books that like took me out. Like and I can't even talk about these books on the podcast yet because I don't want to be a hot mess sitting here with like my nose
I'd
running.
like that.
I'm sure you would. But yeah, like I'm not ready to be like that into it.
Sure.
But I definitely she had an episode with Tarana Burke, and she was talking about, you know, like sexual abuse and the Me Too movement and all of that stuff. And they did a book together. And, you know, she was just talking about like how victims a lot of the time, like, you know, the weight is on them to, you know, carry that load because people are so okay with being complicit in stuff and they're not speaking up. And it being like, you know, like her neighbor telling her when she told her that her mom's boyfriend was raping her and stuff. And I guess she knew the guy, and it was like, yeah, you might not want to say anything because, you know, like it's going to ruin the community though. You know, like your life is going to blow up if you say something. This family member is probably going to murder him, go find him. Then this is going to happen, you know, which is probably true. But it's like for a 7-year-old, like, how are you laying that in her lap? You know what I'm saying? Like, why does she have to carry that burden?
Well, what was she wearing?
Girl, I will smack you.
It's got to be the woman's fault somehow. Like how was he?
She was 7. She wasn't.
How did he fall into that entrapment? Maybe she was like, "Hey, you want to have a little tea party?" And you know, he was completely innocent, and women are the source of all chaos in the world.
How would he feel?
How would he feel? I mean, think about how bad he feels keeping
when
the
he's
secret.
Turned on by 7-year-olds. It's just like, oh my gosh, you know. Listen, I'm not, because see, I was getting ready.
You know what? You know what we need?
I need a lot of stuff.
We need a break.
I think you're right, friend. Let's you know, we're all over the place, you guys. We're so excited, and let's take a break, friend.
All right.
All right, well, guess what? Welcome back.
Yo, we needed that. We needed to calm down. That was upsetting.
I know. See how we can't even stay focused on one thing. It just always goes to slavery and then back to back to real life. And then, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of feelings, friend.
It is.
It surely did make me feel like, God, man, like we are still as women. Like it's unbelievable to me that like we still have to, like, if just in 2018 was there a law passed about something like this?
Oh, and they found 44 other doctors who had done the same thing.
Yes,
not as much as he did, but just across the United States, who had done the same thing. They all had the same idea. But like, wait a minute, what if I?
Just jack off.
Problem solved. And they never predicted 23andMe coming around.
Right.
Like that was the thing too. You gotta think back in them days, they were like, the perfect crime.
No. How they gonna know? Who's gonna know? So yeah, it was super disturbing, and it just made me, you know, sort of double down once more just on the thought of, you know, just autonomy, bodily autonomy, and just how women tend to get looked over when it comes to stuff like this. Like we have to cape for ourselves and you know, like even when I show up thinking I'm doing this one thing, this other thing can happen, and I have no legal recourse. Actually, like the state of Indiana had more of a case than I do when it comes to my own body and my own offspring. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's crazy.
Yes, it was a prank. Ha ha ha. There's actually equality. No.
It's depressing. No. So yeah, I really, really hated it, but I also really loved, I mean, the story of it was so unbelievable that it was like, wow. Like, so I'm glad that they shared their story. It was totally unbelievable. I feel for all of those families, anybody affected by something like that. You know, I don't take that lightly because, I mean, when you decide to reproduce, it is a big deal. And I do
sacred.
A lot of thought. It is. It really and truly is. And I don't, because for a long time, I promise you, I always was like, what's the fucking big deal? Like, people been having kids since, been motherfucking having kids since. You know what I mean? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
But, you know, like, the older I get and the more that I see, you know, how, you know, your kids' upbringing and just everything that you put, everything that your kids are exposed to, everything that you do affects this person and how they live their life. It is truly, you should do that with a lot of discretion. And for somebody to take that away from you, and for you not to have that choice for yourself is just absolutely fucked up. So I just, you know what, fuck him forever.
I promise if I ever see this man, I'm gonna kick him in the balls.
I would like want to hawk up a loogie and spit directly in this man's face. Like, I don't feel like
I like my balls things better. I'll go to jail
do
for
that
that. I'll
first,
get
and
out.
by the time I spit in his face, he won't be able to move. It'll be fine.
Oh, we can do both. How about that?
I said both. I just said.
Oh, sorry.
You
It
nuts
went
first.
out. It had to go to
Nuts
space.
first, then the spit in the face. Okay. We got
Okay.
all right. Boom. We nailed it.
That actually reminds me of a scene from Rick and Morty. But moving on.
Moving on.
This is going long.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so how do you rate this documentary? Do you recommend it? What's the deal?
I actually thought as documentaries go, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 arrows.
Oh wow.
See what I did there?
I see what you did there. I'm gonna give it 4.5 sperm.
Ew.
Yeah, you're
Is it like one of the sperm that has like the 2 tails on it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Regular one. Nothing fancy.
Ew.
With a monocle on, probably. I don't know.
Oh, fancy sperm.
Yeah, fancy sperm. But yeah, no, I mean, it was entertaining. It was definitely eye-opening. And, you know, ladies, guard your cervixes. Know who your medical practitioners
Ladies,
are.
love yourself because the shit can get ugly.
Ugly, yo. So yeah, just, you know.
Oh, and also, wait, this was something I wanted to say too, because there's been a rumor going around in the streets that I heard this, like, you know, just in the streets that Meg the Stallion, something like one of the doctors proved she was lying on Tory Lanez and all the charges were dropped and she refuses to apologize. And when I asked the person I heard this from, like, where did you hear this? And they said the Shade Room. And I was like, I'm gonna need to check that. So they kept saying they was gonna send me the article. I never got it. I looked it up myself. As far as I can see, the trial is still set for September 13th of this year. And it's not looking good for Mr. Lanez.
Mr. Hairline. Well, what I will say about that is, and I don't have a bunch to say because I ain't follow it that hard, but you know, being somebody who has seen trauma people in the ER doing medical imaging and stuff like that, it sounds like it wasn't the actual bullet. It sounds like it was the shrapnel. Like, I did an x-ray just today with somebody that had fragments in their chest still from a gun. So
a bullet.
That's a whole fucking thing. Like, so
well, they were claiming there was no gun. She was just lying whole cloth. There was no gun, no nothing. And there's a lot of people who believe that. And I wanted to correct that. And I believe you're correct. Like, the bullet didn't hit her foot. It sounds like the bullet hit the pavement and shrapnel from the bullet ended up in her foot.
Right.
And
so if you talk to any military personnel, anybody who's ever been shot or has had shrapnel in their body after a gunshot, holler at them about if that's real or not, and then then we can have a whole conversation. So that's all about that.
And the fact too, like, why are you pulling whatever, but like, and also too, when you hear rumors, maybe just check it out, because it reminded me a lot of when we read Trainwreck, where it seems like we want to pull a lot of famous women down, especially after they've declared how they don't necessarily want to conform to our patriotic gender norms, and maybe I just want to, you know, do what I want to do. And I've always enjoyed that about Meg the Stallion. And so I think that's why a lot of times she gets kind of a hard time, because men are like, oh, we don't like hearing this mouthy bitch.
And she's tall.
She is very tall. And I like, you know, what's tallness is the shit.
Agree. Like, at the end of the day, nothing but respect for her. You know, she doesn't even like her.
Who did she hurt? That's my whole thing. Who she hurt?
I don't know. And my thing is,
except
you don't like
feelings.
her booty clapping, and you don't like her brand, like the branding that is Meg the Stallion, because it's not your gig. That's totally fine. You don't have to watch her. She's not
really optional.
You're not like injecting her into your veins. It's fine.
Nope.
You can just move on from it. But I digress. Yeah, but anyway, this was a really great documentary, guys. Check it out on Netflix if you get a chance to. This actually made me think about a story that I saw. So I'm gonna do a Stranger Than Fiction, guys, really quickly. So the house that unlocked a family history. So there was a guy named Fred Miller. He's 56 years old and he's an Air Force vet. And he is from Virginia. Southern Virginia has a large family. And every year they like have a huge like family gathering, or actually really all throughout the year they gather all the time, and so like extended family and everything. So there was this huge large house in his hometown that his sister told him about and was like, we need to buy this house so that we can do, you know, all of our family gatherings. So Miller at the time didn't know that this property that he was getting ready to buy was once a plantation named Sharswood.
Actually, can I interrupt you there? I want to stop using the word plantation and use a much more accurate term, which would be forced labor camp.
Okay, I'm just reading from the plantation. You can, that's fine. But it was named Sharswood, and it was built in the 1850s by a slave owning uncle and nephew who shared the last name. And what was crazy is that this guy's brother, so Fred Miller's brother, worked with this white man whose last name was Miller, and this was like 30 years before he bought this house. He was like, yo, like I feel like, you know, like our ancestors might be connected damn near, because Miller, you know what I'm saying? Like, could be this is a, you know, it's a rural town or whatever. So they had no idea. And then come to find out, so the little sister, she talks him into buying the property. He gives this you know, he gives an offer, didn't think he'd get it because he was like, you know, black person, like I don't know. They end up getting in the house and then find out that the slaves that they owned that were at this forced whatever you were calling it,
AKA, forced labor camp.
That, yes, AKA plantation for those who know it that way, were their actual family members, which I thought was super fucking wild because they bought the house as is. So like the inside of the big house is like from the 1800s. There's like there's all kinds of stuff, to the point now like where they have people who have been coming in to preserve the property, and it's like a whole thing, like you can go to the property and see it and everything like that. I'm like, this is super wild. And there's slave quarters that they discovered, like one of the oldest, most well-preserved ones in the country, which I thought was super dope. I was like, oh my, well, not dope,
where the forced laborers lived.
I know, like, but I mean, to have that, because I remember we went to the African American Museum of History in Cincinnati, and they had like a slave quarters that they brought there, you know, and it's just wild to see it because they try to act like this shit is made up, like like it didn't happen. And so
it's really sold as like it was an aggressive jobs program that black people didn't want to do because we were lazy.
Yes, it was super crazy. And and they even found a cemetery on the land, because they bought the house and also like there was like 10 acres of land that they had, and they saw these like rocks in the ground, and come to find out they were like, yeah, this is where they would bury their dead. So they're trying to do something now where they can kind of like make it into
an actual cemetery.
Yes, an actual
and honor those people, because they did too much to be forgotten. That's the thing. Like they want us to forget so bad.
But it's like, no, we was like,
and that's what soul is. Soul is remembrance. That's why black people are so soulful. We don't forget. Like, because if you black in America, you have to have a long memory because you're singing a long song.
Oh yeah, you can't forget, man. So I'm gonna include this. The amen to that. You sure will. I'm going to I'm gonna put this in the notes, so if you guys want to read up on this. I thought it was pretty fascinating because I mean, what are the odds that this house that you passed a million times?
I don't think it's a coincidence, though. I think we do have a clear connection, and like if we are connected, if we have that remembrance, it does call to us. There are things that it's so funny when I do learn about relatives, and it'll be stuff that I never knew. I'm like, oh, that's where I get that from. Like that's actually like just in me, like just we will go too long if I really get into it, but I love that. So that is Stranger Than Fiction, because real life is real life will take you there.
All right, so let's get out of here. Let's spin the wheel real quick. Let's see what
Okay.
we're gonna be talking about next week. Let's spin it.
So next, it looks like we're gonna be doing a fakester next time. We're gonna be talking to the polish lady.
Let's
So
go.
no books, but we might still talk about some media though.
She's a book. She's a book. We're gonna read her
She is
in a good way, not like
in
not.
a good way. Yeah. So I'm looking for because that'll be some positivity after this was negative as hell.
But you know, it's yeah.
But it's real though. Like we didn't make this up. This whole episode was realer. This is stranger than
The
fiction.
whole shit was the whole shit.
Yeah, because life is too weird and real. But again,
This lady's gonna give us a. She's a ray of sunshine. Like she loves
oh,
radio, and she's gonna be a nice little ray of sunshine.
how have we not talked about this? Beyonce's got an album coming out next month. Maybe that's what we'll need to heal.
I know, right? She always comes right on time. Thank you,
She
Beyonce.
does. Thank you for working because you don't have to.
I
What is she?
know.
She's like, oh, I gotta make rent. Get this album together.
Man, I need a break too. I promise you. I'm glad she's working because I'm tired. You know.
Yeah, I am. I don't.
I'm a little
It's,
tired,
and
but
have
I
you seen
can't
her
wait.
stuff for British Vogue? Have you seen
I've
the
seen
layouts?
some of it, not all of it. I've seen some of it, and it's been pretty opulent and
I
beautiful.
love that she chose to shoot with British Vogue too, because
She had the choppy bangs. I didn't love the choppy bangs, but
I just love it because I feel like British Vogue has more black people on staff because their stuff has been killing. Their covers have been
pop, pop, pow.
sickening. So yeah, well, I would just want to say that before we go. But I
Yeah,
love everybody, and your body belongs to you, regardless what the state of Indiana says.
that is so true, man. Well, I almost say F Indiana, but
I
for that, F
mean,
Indiana for that.
land back. Let's give it. I'd rather the Indians ran it.
Oh gosh. Okay, let's get out of here.
All right.
Bye, guys.